Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about what the reverse diet is and why every single woman should reverse diet for the majority of their year. We're going to talk about, again, what the reverse diet is, steps on how we do it, and why it's so important for women specifically. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind. The reverse diet. Dun,
My
dun.
favorite diet.
It's the best, man, and it's not talked about now it's being more talked about by people in the space, but for the average woman, she's probably never reverse dieted in her life.
Yeah, I'm going to go with most people don't know about it.
Yeah, but we'll get into that. What's up with you?
Not much. Just been hanging out, let my afternoon clients know that my time has come.
She's given up her afternoon clients for training.
We can talk about that on the bump date.
Bump date.
Because that's a bit of a change. Michael's been still gone, so that's fine.
Get her time to herself.
Yeah, just a lot of time to myself. Yeah, this week was my last week with them, so we'll see how next week goes and how I feel and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing really going on.
Sweet.
Too much, yeah.
Yeah. I found out my best friend's moving, Dustin. I know. I was so sad.
To Oklahoma.
Yeah.
For his lover.
Lover, yes. So that's just like, ugh.
Rip out your
I was
heart.
the last person he told.
Well,
He was so scared. And then I was like, no.
How did he tell you?
We were in the cabana.
He told you in public.
Yeah.
He's like, I fear for my life. So
Yeah,
tell you this right now.
Because it's funny because we were talking about it. We were at breakfast and then I had asked him about it because I'm like, oh, well, we're going to leave the same time you're gone. So then,
Was his lover at the wedding?
Yeah.
Too? Okay.
So then it got weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't realize it was awkward, but everyone else did because I was the only one who didn't know. So then he finally was like, I'm going to be there longer than a month. I'm going to be there like forever. And I was like, wait, no.
Forever?
I go, no. I started bawling.
Really?
Bawling. He's my friend.
Well, it's so hard when you get older, to make friends. So then when you do make friends, there's a lot more value, I think, in those relationships. And then when you find your people and they start moving, you're like, oh, wait. I thought you would stay here for me.
Yeah, right. I know.
We're in a relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the friend thing right now is very weird. Obviously he's leaving. And then I had an incident with a friend of a friend who it was really unfair. And I'm in this kind of, I don't know where I stand with certain people.
Yeah.
Which is really hard because, for me specifically, I do a lot of work on myself.
Right.
I make adjustments to my life because I talked about this in the relationship. Maybe I didn't talk about it as much, but in the relationship, the mirror mastery where I did it myself, I talked about how I was in this space where I hadn't done the work on myself. And not only was I medicating through relationships and trying to take care of other people, I was medicating through drinking.
Yeah.
I mean, I would drink an excessive amount of Jack Daniels.
Ooh.
Correct. Bad. And I would get in fights with
Michael
my friends.
chooses McAllen.
I was young. I was just 13, 14 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and I would get in fights with my friends and then obviously they stuck around, but sometimes it's do you still see me as that person?
Yeah.
When I know my truth, I know, what I'm doing at any given time because I don't want to be that person again.
Yeah.
And to constantly be the way I've explained it is the villain in the story or the scapegoat, right? And others placating that. It's been really rough. And it's been a week of feeling this way and not really having any sort of opportunity to speak to my friends. So it's just it's been rough. I've been in tears probably every day.
Really?
Yeah. Cause it's, it's such a shitty feeling. And it's what I talked about in that relationship podcast of for me, I know who I am.
Right.
But you said this, I think you said this earlier of I've done my work, but not ever. Someone said this to me. I've done my work, but not actually. Ira said this to me. I've done my work, but not everyone else has.
I was talking to, I forget. I think my mom.
Our clients deal with this too.
Yeah, I forget who. I have a particular client that I'm thinking of in mind, but in general, what I find hard is that once you start kind of unraveling your own shit, you now have a greater responsibility because you know what you know and the other people don't. So now it's on me as the person who has gone through therapy or has gone through like kind of my self-reflection journey, whatever you want to term it, to like modify myself because you haven't, or this other person hasn't, or this other group hasn't. And it's like, well, wait a second. Why am I like the crazy one? Or like, why am I the like unreasonable one because I set the boundaries? Or why am I the bitch because I say no?
Right.
Or like, because I'm like, we should think through this instead of just being like, yeah, let's do that.
Right.
And now all of a sudden I'm the scapegoat, like you were talking about, because of what I've done. But yet I'm looking at y'all going, okay, well, you've got this, you do this, you do this. So where's your role in all of this? But they don't want to take the responsibility. You end up taking the responsibility of the modifying yourself because, you know, it's like fighting with a crazy person.
Well, and that's part of my trauma is modifying myself to meet other people's needs. I'm not going to do it anymore. Yeah. I'm not going to walk on eggshells around people because they're not willing to do the work on themselves. Right. And this is not all my friends. These are particular people, but they're people that mean a lot to me. And it's just been, I mean, at 40 years old, you would think like this isn't hard anymore. I
think it gets harder.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, obviously I'm my own therapist and she literally goes, is anyone around you protecting you instead of setting you on fire? I know. I was like Amanda, Camilla, like I've got my people. Mark. Yeah.
Michael, if we really want to.
Michael, like, listen.
He's here.
Fuck somebody up.
Like, well, just drink, man. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Fuck them. We'll go out.
You know, and it's just crazy because, and I was talking to someone, I don't remember who.
Somebody.
Yeah. And I was like, it's funny because the people who don't set me on fire don't have that previous relationship with me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So they don't know that part of me. So they just get to see me for who I am now. You don't have a reference to
like
that.
15 years ago. I don't.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. I mean,
do you think that plays a role in how we perceive you? Okay.
Absolutely. Because again, I mean, that is the person I'm always I'm working against that version of myself. And when I say no, I'm not in the wrong here.
Right.
I actually know, like,
you're actually more right than you were then.
Composed.
Yeah.
I'm not being rude. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not being this asshole. Yeah. I am having people act that way towards me. And then still I'm the bad person. And I'm like, no, I will not. You and he and I talked about this. He goes, maybe
you and Mark. Okay.
He goes, maybe. I go, do I need to do something different, like in regards to how I'm a friend? Because you and I talked about it. So. Well, you hear how I speak and how I like text things.
Yeah. A little bit. Yeah, it's very direct, and I've had to learn that too. Like sometimes when we text, I'm like, oh, like, is she? My thing is like when someone's pissed at me, I want to solve it. And so like sometimes like I would read it and be like, is she fucking pissed at me? Like,
I've never been pissed at you.
I know. But then I forget, I was with you someday. I forget, and you had like texted somebody back on your phone. And I thought like, she's not pissed at all.
No.
Like but it's the communication via text message that I think interrupts the delivery of the message.
Right.
On top of that. And then people, just like we've experienced with clients, they put their own spin on it of how they want to interpret it because of how they're feeling about themselves. Right. So now they're putting it on you that you made me feel this way.
Right.
Even though I was already feeling a certain way and not looking at that part of how that could contribute to how I'm perceiving you.
Yeah. That's been crazy.
But sucks.
I mean, all I can do is wait when I can have conversations with people and just explain my reality.
Yeah. And that sucks though.
Yeah, it does. It does suck because, and I think for a lot of our clients, I'm thinking of one in particular, like you do all this work, but there's just going to be people who don't want you to win.
Right.
they don't want you to win or
have grown. I could even change that to grown.
Yeah. They don't want you to heal. They don't want you to grow, because then that would require, and I tell my clients this all the time, is like, when you start changing, you will quickly learn who in your life is a part of your trauma and your codependency and who is not. And that's not to say, because like my best friend Adrienne and I have been friends forever, and we've gone through our own shit, and like we've both grown. So like we understand each other. Like when she's in the wrong, she'll apologize to me. When I'm in the wrong, I apologize to her. But it's like every opportunity is a new opportunity. Whereas with other people, it's not. It's like, oh, you did this
here you
17 years ago.
Yeah, here you are again.
Okay. So that's been kind of weighing on my heart. Yeah. I'm almost called you like 70 times this week. But I was just like, I'm just going to cry.
Yeah, sometimes you just.
There was a morning I cried for 2 fucking hours.
We could have just gone for a cry walk.
I know.
Like,
poor Mark's like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, that's like at some point the guy's like, like, do you want a hug? Do you want to get out? Or like, do you want to face it? You're like, I don't want to go anywhere. And sometimes you just need a friend to like sit and watch Bravo with you for a bit.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
I love Bravo.
I don't like Bravo, but I'd watch it with you to make you feel better.
Thank you. That's a good friend. My shit TV. And then you'll be like, wait, who's this?
Yeah.
Who's that person?
How is like, oh my God, they're fucking again.
You get so into it.
You know what I saw? Okay, I was on, so we got Netflix.
Yay.
Well, because Michael's mother started paying for 2 accounts.
Oh, perfect.
And so I told him, I was like, I think your mom pays for 2 accounts now. And he's like, just fucking do it. And I was like, okay. But I was on Netflix and they said there was something, some reality show where it was like these couples put their relationships to the test by going and meeting with other people. And I was like,
Throuple.
Well, but
no,
I don't know. But it was basically like we all go in a house together and then like everybody pairs off with a different person of another couple. And I thought, that's not a test. They're not committed.
Right.
I would never be like, let's try it. Let's see how good our love really is.
Ultimatum. Is
that
I don't
what
know.
It was? I have no idea. I just saw it and I was like, I read the little info and I was like, that they have lost the test of their relationship.
Right.
Because if you're like, well, maybe, we'll see how it works out with Dan. It's
right.
Like, well, no, it should work out with Kyle, the guy you've been with for 10 years.
Right.
Like, God.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious. But then like Love is Blind, for example, you see these TikToks where people, like my husband watching Love is Blind for the first episode. And he's just like, this is stupid. And then the next episode, he's like, wait, who is he again? And then the next episode, he's like, oh no, he did not say that to her. Like it just shows like the evolution of like the husband or the partner who's like watching it for the first time. Cause it is.
That's how Michael got with Desperate Housewives when I was watching that. I was like, I'll just throw it on. I've seen it like when I was in high school and stuff. Right. So I threw it on and he's like, wait, what? Oh my God. Like, so what's going on now?
Yeah.
And then he started getting that way with Grey's Anatomy, but then I stopped watching it because it got, sorry, Ira, but it just, I made it to like the 5th season.
Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah. Everyone. I made it to the 5th season or something like that. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is so ridiculous.
I remember my mom would watch, Guiding Light.
My mom watched
Days of
All
Our
My
Lives.
Children.
Yeah. Days of Our Lives is the one my mom watched. And at a certain point, I was like, wait, I thought that person died.
Yeah,
like,
no, but they came back and that was the twin.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
And then there was this like little guy.
Yeah.
He was creepy. And I'm like, who's this little guy? Is he like a kid? Is he like a human? I don't understand what's happening. But Bravo makes me happy. Because there's a lot of train wrecks on there.
Yeah. Well, I used to watch Real Housewives of New York City with Bethany Frankel and them. And then we watched Real Housewives of Orange County.
Jersey was my favorite.
Original Jersey. Yeah. With Teresa Guidos or whatever.
And then
the sister-in-law and Caroline. Yeah.
Loved them.
And then where else? Orange County. Wait, there was Beverly Hills, I think, too. In there.
Yeah. Lisa Vanderpump. I never watched Beverly Hills
too.
Yeah. I've watched
it for a little bit. Oh, yeah. No, I did actually. Because I was like, oh, that's because the Hilton sister was in it. I was like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
Very, very. That's about it, I think, as far as I got.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing not bad.
Well, she's getting a divorce.
Oh, is she?
I think they're already divorced. Mauricio and Kyle. It's sad. And it was really sad, like the way that people were. I didn't watch the episode, but I listened to like the Vial Files and I watched Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen and just kind of the like, tell us what's happening in your lives. Yeah. Like, I don't want to tell you what's happening.
Well, and I think it gets so regular to tell everything that's happening.
Correct.
And said there's a beauty to having some secrets with your significant other. And they don't need secrets to be bad, but like there's some things that are just private between a couple.
Well, and just because you're on reality TV does not mean that you get access to everything.
Right.
So on Vanderpump, it was the season finale. And
is this the one where the one guy was hooking up with the other
correct.
Girl, but they looked exactly this? Yeah, okay.
They don't look the same.
Okay.
They were all best friends.
Okay, got it.
So it'd be like you hooking up with Mark and me not knowing for 7 months. Could you imagine? And like taking you out for your birthday and like making sure you always feel special. And you're just like, you having conversations with me about our sex life. Oh, not so.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
She wouldn't give away her.
Yeah.
And then finding out. And then this season was only about like 3 to 4 months after this happens, which it's been a year now since that whole thing. But at the end, everyone's like, Ariana's not sharing her reality, when her reality is she doesn't want to fucking be in the same place as this dude who did this to her. She doesn't want to have conversations with herself. I posted something on my Instagram yesterday where she's talking about, like, I'm going to stand in my fucking feelings. I am not going to be stoic. I am not going to, make everyone else okay. I feel this way. Y'all need to be okay with it. You're okay with male rage and being, guys can raise their voice and say, no, you're not going to do that to me. But when a woman does it, she's being inauthentic. Yeah. She's being crazy. It's like, no. And it's mind boggling how the rest of cast is like, she's not sharing her story. And one of the girls specifically, Lala, it's like, she's not being real. When this girl was cheated on by her baby daddy, will not even say his name. No one can be his friend. And if she was to have to film with him on this show, she would lose her ever-loving mind. Where this other girl has to film because they still live in the same house together. Yeah, because they bought this house together. She's like, I'm not moving out because this guy cheated on me. He can move out. And he's like, I'm not moving out. So they like have an assistant that like coordinates her schedule. It's kind of a disaster. But I just thought terrible. It was so.
I would just move out.
Like, yeah, she bought a house finally. Yeah. But it was just so interesting how people are saying like, be real, be real. I'm like, no, dummies. That is her real. Yeah, that's her reality. I'm not going to change. Like, if any woman was in that situation, they would do the same thing. Like, no, I don't want to talk to you. I'm not talking to you. That's real to me. Not like, oh, the cameras are here. Let's have a hard conversation, even though I want to fucking kill you, So it's interesting. I get so heated about these people I don't even know. But see, you're into it now.
Well, to me, I'm just like
slowly brainwashing her.
Like,
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Let's talk about stuff that's also crazy to some people, but not to us. Reverse dieting.
So, aka eating more.
Eating more and still maintaining your weight. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Sounds crazy. Doesn't sound like reality. However, we worked with hundreds of women
who do this successfully.
We just posted. Actually, we did not post. She posted her 1 month before and afters.
Really?
Which, yep. Our client, Erica, posted. We have her doing less and eating more. Mm-hmm. She had the she's in her mid 40s, had the belly fat that couldn't get rid of within a month. Like drastic changes. Just doing that. Just calming her body down.
Alana's pictures today. From today. I know. She's like, okay, this is a perfect client to kind of put this into.
Okay.
So this client, she's in her 50s. Very high stress job. Sleep is a little iffy. She's been out of town for the last 2 weeks traveling, and so sleep's been really bad too. Staying at various places because it's not like she was just in one place for the 2 weeks. She was at a friend's house, then a hotel, then a conference, and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so she put in her progress pictures this week. And so she doesn't weigh herself daily, but she does the measurements and pictures maybe every 3 to 4 weeks. And so I pulled them up a side by side. Oops, sorry, I hit the mic. Pulled it up a side by side from when she first started with us to today. So she's lost more than an inch overall, but it was an inch lost since the last time that I had looked. Weight has stayed about the same, and her butt is plumper.
Yes.
I know. It looks so good.
Yeah.
And so I sent it to her, and she was like, well, I'm disappointed that like this scale isn't moving. And she goes, but I am eating more. And I was like, that's the perfect place
That's
to
where
be.
we wanna
And I said,
be.
but you've lost inches, your butt is plumper, and the scale isn't moving. I don't really care about the scale.
No.
And so
that's the reverse diet. That would be her maintenance. So let's talk about what the reverse diet is.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, guys? Quick interruption from our sponsor, the Mindset of Matter coaching program. If you are tired of gaining back the same 20 pounds that you lose over and over again, if you're tired of having to work out 5 to 7 days with only seeing results that you do not desire, or you are just tired of living in a body that you do not feel confident in, you will want to take advantage of this month's offer. For the month of May, we will be offering $100 off our Mindset Matters cohort-style coaching program. In this program, you will receive curriculum and coaching to help rewire your mind to create new beliefs about yourself and ultimately gain the outcomes that you desire. In this program, you receive weekly reflections in the Mindset of Matter app. Each reflection is a part of the mindset method. On top of this, you also receive daily journal prompts to help enhance the things that you're learning or enhance the tools so that you can solidify them and utilize them moving forward. On top of this, you get access to myself or one of my coaches in a weekly group coaching call. In this call, you are able to ask questions and get coached through the reflection and the things that you're learning. The next cohort starts June 3rd. And again, for the month of May, we'll be offering $100 off. If you're interested in this, you'll find the link in the show notes below. Now, back to elevating your mind.
So when you go into a calorie deficit, so a calorie deficit is eating less than you move. And when we say move, we're not just talking about exercise. We're talking, less than you burn in a day. And we're not just talking about exercise. Exercise makes up about 5 to 10%.
Yeah, not a lot.
Not a lot.
Remember, we talked about this.
We did that, but we will remind you again.
She was like, yeah, glasses.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So exercise only accounts for about 5 to 10% of your daily calories burned. About 20% is burned in your non-exercise activity. You're walking, doing the dishes, gardening, whatever, picking up, dog poop. Why is dog poop always my thing? Because
I don't know.
I get really tired because I
pick up the dog poop.
I mean, I do sometimes.
I thought you guys paid someone to come do it.
We don't anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. She now watches the dogs.
Yeah.
We do need to find a new
graduated.
person. She did. She'll graduate actually from high school.
Oh,
really sad because she's been with us since middle school.
Seriously?
Yeah. She's very sweet.
Okay, segue. Back to reality.
About 60 to 70% is burned at rest and 5 to 10% is burned with the thermic effect of food. There's certain foods that actually are slower digesting, like protein, that actually burn more calories when you eat them. So that's your total daily energy burned. A calorie deficit would be eating less than that amount for most. I mean, just depending on your activity levels, depending on your job, depending on, how tall you are, your size, all of that. It's always going to vary. But when we're in a calorie deficit, we are in the process of losing weight. That could be, if not done correctly, could be both fat and muscle mass. And we get, you're in the calorie deficit, you're adjusting the calories as you lose weight, and you get down to this weight that you desire. And what a lot of people will do, and programs will do this because they're only concerned with the testimonial. They're only concerned with, look at the before and afters. Before and afters, you guys are a big indicator of an all or nothing type of program. We will run them I know I've said this many times, if our clients want us to, but it's not our go-to marketing. There's just a lot with it that is beyond our program. It's not that. Sorry, I'm moving.
I don't think it conveys our message very well.
Yeah, agreed. So you get down to the weight, and then what happens is most programs will either put you in another challenge,
right?
Or it's kind of good luck.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that do incorporate this into their plan, which are people we would most likely align ourselves with. What happens though is as you lose weight, and as you're in a calorie deficit, your basal metabolic rate, your resting metabolism has to adapt to the lower amount of energy, food coming in. So your body at rest burns less. And if you're doing it incorrectly, meaning in a very high restriction, you're going to get there sooner and you're going to burn even less at rest because your body needs a certain amount of food on a daily basis just to survive. And so what happens is then we're now at this lower metabolism because we've lost weight and we've been in a restrictive diet, and we go back to the amount of eating we did prior to that right away. So say that prior to losing weight, I was eating 2,000 calories a day.
Mm-hmm.
Now in my deficit, I'm eating 1,500 calories a day. Mm-hmm. My metabolism now, maybe my total daily energy expenditure instead of being 2,000 is 1,800. Mm-hmm. But I go back to 2,000 and that puts me in a slight surplus, meaning you'd be gaining at that point. Now, these are very clean numbers. Doesn't look exactly that way. But what the reverse diet does, well, let me go back to that. When that happens is when we see people lose the weight and gain it back and then some, which about 90% of individuals will do that.
Yeah.
And they won't just do it once. They'll do it multiple times. So the reverse diet is the way to basically take that metabolism. It came down. Now we want to bring it back up in a similar manner, and we have to do it slowly so that the body kind of adjusts and adapts again, just like it adapted to the lower amount. It needs to adapt to the higher amount and do that slowly over time to get us to maintenance.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on reverse dieting?
In general or from what you said? I think a reverse dieting is probably necessary for 90% of people that are doing it because most of them have always been in a calorie deficit. Mm-hmm. But the thing is they probably haven't been in that calorie deficit because weekends happen, we binge, we overeat, then we restrict. There's like this yo-yo going on throughout the week or throughout the day, even if we want to look at it in that fraction. So they don't really know. The thing is the problem with dieting is people just choose a blanket number. Mm-hmm. And usually it's 1,200 or 1,500. No idea where those came from. I think MyFitnessPal does it automatically or something.
MyFitnessPal is the worst place to actually do your calories, which is insane.
So
it's so bad. Don't do that.
I know. So it's either, I don't know, 1,200 or 1,500 that they just choose out of the bucket. Mm-hmm. And so they really don't know how much they can eat too. And so I think in general, reverse dieting is beneficial because if they think they're eating 1,200 calories, but they're really not, then let's just track and see what you actually are or log or whatever, however we want to do this. And then we can go from there to see what we need to do based on what your body's doing at that number. Mm-hmm. And I think what a lot of people go, if I'm going to eat more, I'm going to gain weight. Right. And it's like, but your body is in a starvation surplus mode, starvation surplus. It's oscillating back and forth because it's going starvation. I'm going to hold on to weight. Great. Then because it's thinking I'm not going to get any energy. So energy is coming from food. If I'm restricting food, I'm restricting energy. So I'm going to hold on to that. Then it's going into a surplus mode because now I overdid it or I go on vacation or fuck it. It's already Wednesday. I might as well start next Monday. I've been good all week. Yeah. So then it's going to store onto that food again. So now here I'm gaining weight. What the heck? So I'm going to circle back. Reverse diet gives you consistency in your nutrition. And I think that's what a lot of people lack.
Absolutely.
And so, and more so, I think the reverse diet gives them consistency in their nutrition while little by little digesting the information in the process instead of just saying, we just need you to start eating at 1,800 calories, right? Because even the 1,500 to 1,800, they're going to freak out when we probably know you're actually eating 1,800. Right. Like, you're probably actually doing that already. But if I'm going from 1,500 to 1,800 or over 50 calories or 100 calories, depending on how we're doing it, they're going to see like, okay, 50 calories is maybe like a cup of berries, maybe. So, okay, if I can add that every day, I can do that. 100 calories is maybe a banana every day. Okay. So or a cheese stick. Like, so thinking of it, and I like to put it in food terms and saying, here we can do this. And then they're able to say, okay, like I can have, and kind of wrapping their mind around that of like, if you can't add a cup of berries to your diet every day, we've got something even deeper happening than eating more.
Well, and it goes the opposite way too. People think, oh, I got here, I lost weight, and like I talked about before, I'm going to go back to the way I'm eating. It's totally fine. Or we do reverse diet them and they think, oh, I'm eating all this extra amount of food. Yes, 500 calories is a good amount. That's a whole meal. However, when you break it up into your day, it's really not. Unless you're doing like a surplus. Then we can kind of be like, oh, I've got 1,000 extra calories here. But people will believe, well, I'm eating more. And they remember that person who did binge. They remember that person who did emotionally eat, and they think, oh, you're giving me more calories. That's going to make me be that person again. Where if we're doing the mindset work around that, we've actually already recreated that. Yeah. So not only have we done mindset work around not being that person, now also we're teaching them how to come out of that diet, eat in a way that is sustainable, right?
Yes.
And figure out what their bodies can do.
That's a good point that you brought up, of eating in a way that is sustainable. So when we're reverse dieting, so what we do on our end of things, like when a new client comes on, and I imagine you do the same thing.
Everyone does it.
Okay. Is that just show me what you're doing. I don't want you to change anything. I'm not going to judge you, but I just need to see where we're starting. And some people, so there's your spectrum of no processed food, absolutely not, like all whole foods, to every meal is a processed food. And for me, when I'm looking, I'm assessing, okay, where is this all at? So where's our protein? Where's our fiber? Where's our fats? Then where's our carbs? What colors do we have? So thinking of like, do we have any colors throughout the day, or is it just an all white processed shit or brown? But when we're starting to talk about reverse dieting with a client, whether they're having all processed food or all whole foods, what I'm asking them to add in. So when I give suggestions, because I'm not going to tell them add a cup of berries every day. I'm going to say, what would we eat? What is a color? And so thinking like, give me 5 colors of a food that you would add. And so working on the nutrition piece of it, of sustainability, is, okay, what is something that you would do in 5 years from now? Because if it's not having berries, then I'm not going to add berries.
Right.
But if it's having an apple, okay, let's do the apple. But we're working on incorporating more whole foods as we're doing this. I'm not just saying, okay, so say you have more processed food, well, then have an extra slice of toast. It's going to be, okay, you already have toast. Can we add maybe a fruit to it, or avocado, or protein if they're lacking that? So again, working on how do we do this? And then teaching the client too, what are these foods? Right. Because isn't that a carb? And it's like, well, let's educate you about carbs. And I've even had clients where I've suggested adding fruit, and they're like, well, I'm concerned about the sugar.
Right.
And I'm like, the sugar hill of fruit is the last hill you need to die on, right? Like your fiber is at 5 grams a day on average. Right. Like you need the sugar at this point.
Well, you need the fiber more than it's
that's like a null and void point that again, diet culture has taught you that. Like I had my girlfriend was talking to me, and she has to go on antibiotics. Fine. So she wants to like make sure her gut's okay during it. And I know how she eats typically. And so she wants to get prebiotics or probiotics. And I'm like, honestly, like you could do that. But what I would work on is making sure you're eating enough and whole foods. And so she's like, well, I don't want to add more fiber because I already go to the restroom so many times a day. I was like, she goes, so I avoid fiber. And I was like, yeah.
Interesting.
I was like, you should add fiber in, like, because I'm thinking fiber is your fruits and vegetables.
Right.
Like, you need that.
Well, and just to go back to what you're saying, so every client that walks in, we're taking an inventory of what they're eating and how much they're eating. For most of them, we are reverse dieting and doing it and adding foods into their diet that make sense for them, that also are going to help them from a nutrition standpoint. So for us, you're going to be in a reverse diet at some point in your path with us, whether it's from the beginning so that we can see how much your body can take. We need to know your total daily energy expenditure before we cut. But a lot of programs, I've worked for one, literally will just put you in a calculator and cut you.
Yeah.
Even if it's 1,200
Well,
calories.
and you can find that out on your own online. So if you're going to do that, just do it yourself.
Right.
Don't hire a coach. Just
Go online
and figure out how much do I need to eat to cut. And you could do that yourself. But what you're not learning is, now what do you do?
Right. Or track your food and
see if you
add 100 calories every week, weigh yourself daily, take an average daily. If you're not gaining, you're not losing. Obviously, your weight never stays the same. It's going to fluctuate in a 3 to 5 pound range, up or down. Sometimes there'll be weeks it doesn't change, but it's relatively around the same, right? So if you're not gaining weight, you're not losing weight, we're going to increase another 100 calories. And we're going to do that until we start seeing an average weight, like an increase. And what I mean by that is a pound. A lot of people think, oh, if I do that, then I'm going to gain it. No, it takes 3,500 calories on top of your total daily energy expenditure. So again, if your TDE was 2,000 calories, it would take 5,500 calories to gain an actual pound of weight on the scale, an actual pound of fat on the scale. You're probably not eating that. So we need to just let go of what ifs, because most likely this is something you guys have never done.
Right.
You've never learned, because if I do it this way, when we do it this way, rather than just using a calculator, our clients may get back 100, 200 calories. So instead of being 1,500, they're 1,700 and they're losing a pound of weight per week. Maybe they're 1,800, 1,900 when we do it the right way. So that's when they walk into the program. Now let's talk about the client who has lost the weight.
Okay.
Now we want to, as people on the internet say, repair their metabolism. This is what they're talking about. We are slowly increasing their calorie intake by 100, like I just said. We're making sure we're not seeing any big fluctuations on the scale. We shouldn't. If we are, then they're most likely in the mindset of, I can eat whatever I want.
Right.
That's the only time, you guys, that we see weight gain in the reverse diet, is when you don't follow the protocols. Right. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doing that 100 calories, 1, 2, 3 weeks. For some people, it's a mental struggle. So I had a client, it took us 4 months to get her up, because she was very scared of hitting these higher numbers. She's a taller woman, and it took us time from a mental standpoint. But this process can take 4 weeks. It could take 4 months. But slowly bringing those calories up, 100 calories, assess, we're all good. Add another 100, assess, and keep doing that process until we hit a range where either you can't eat anymore, right? Or you are, I'd rather be the former, was it the former? Yeah. I'd rather be the former, but the other one is just, you're not gaining or losing weight. You're staying relatively the same. You can take a break from reversing too, because could we push that up a bit more? Sure. But for some people, they're like, no, I feel good here. And then doing the process you're talking about, like, well, what if we can get another 100 in? Like, let's give you 50 calories of berries. And what this does is it lets you keep and maintain the results that you had.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Well, and I think also too is noting that if you've been in a deficit, you might not be, so we'll go back to the 2,000 as the maintenance. You might not reach the 2,000. So it allows you to see, like, because if you're in the deficit for X amount of time, your body's going to adapt. It's going to slow down its processes. So your maintenance may now be 19, we'll say, right? And 100 calories at the end of the day is not that big of a deal. But if we're going to, like, really think about the client here and kind of how we would coach them, I might get a client who feels full at 1,900 and who feels good and is kind of like, her weight is stable. Everything's fine. But I know before we were at 2,000 calories, I'm not going to push her to get into that extra 100 until I get the feedback that she's ready or the body is either. Right. So you have to remember that too, as like, okay, you cut to the 1,500. We're ideally making our way back to 2,000, but they're going up in this incremental way is going to allow us to see actually, how does your body feel? And because that's another thing that I don't think women, well, actually, I know women don't do, is they're not assessing how we feel as we're eating or as our hunger. Like, so it's important during this time too. So not only are you seeing how much you can eat if they're coming out of a deficit that they've been in forever, or if we're coming out of a deficit that was intentional, but we're returning to your baseline, but we're also building the skill of, how do I feel as I'm eating more? Am I less tired? Do I have more energy? How's my strength? Does this food maybe that I haven't had so much of? So like say you've been having cauliflower rice instead of white rice, and now you're starting to add white rice back in and it makes you feel heavy and full. Well, maybe it's always did. And that was part of that feeling that you had of like, I just feel heavy. Right. And it could be from this particular food that we've now modified too.
Well, and that's, people always be like, I can't eat that much.
Yes, you can.
It's like, no, babe.
You did.
You did. Sorry to bust your bubble, but if you are in need of weight loss, like true weight loss, you've eaten over the 2,000 calories we're saying. But when it's not processed food, it's a lot harder to eat. So what we teach clients is how to create low volume, higher calorie meals. So when the person is like, I couldn't possibly eat 2,400 calories, like, well, if we had a breakfast that had 2 eggs, some salmon, some avocado, and some toast, that's a pretty decent meal because we've got some fats in there. What people don't realize is fats are going to be more calorically dense, right?
Yeah.
And carbs and protein actually are only about 4 calories for every gram, where fats are 9 calories for every gram.
Alcohol is 7.
Yep, alcohol is 7. So we might add in higher fatty proteins. We will add in olive oils. A lot of like
that's true too. Like thinking of so the client like going back to your client, the 4-month one, where she was fearful to add more calories. It's like maybe she's been eating trout, but she really likes salmon. So it's like instead of having the trout, let's have the salmon. So you're not necessarily eating more on a gram per gram basis. But you are eating more on a fat to carb to protein ratio basis too. So thinking of that as a way to manipulate those situations
it makes it so much easier when I'm like, you can have egg yolks now. You can have peanut butter now. You can have butter. You can have whole milk dairy products. But let's talk about the advantages of this. Not only are we going to be able to maintain our physique and eat more calories doing so, but you mentioned a few of them. When you're eating you reverse out, you get to maintenance. So again, maintenance is not losing, not gaining. We're relatively staying the same. The scale's not changing. We do need to talk about the mental part of that. When you've been a person who's always stepped on the scale hoping that it goes down, you do have to do the work on that not being a thing anymore. Yeah. So that's mental health, mindset work. However, it's the reverse diet and maintenance is something you can sustain. Right. You can go on vacation and not feel like you have to play Tetris with your food. You have more freedom. You can eat with ease. You don't have to worry. Whereas if you don't learn this process and do it in the right way, you, like I said, probably are constantly in that, like you said too, constantly in that deficit, or we're jumping to a new diet, we're jumping to a new challenge only to not see results because we didn't give our body a chance to chill out. That's one thing we haven't talked about is when you go through this process and take yourself out of a deficit slowly and do it in a way that's healthy, your body will repay you.
Right.
Your body, you'll feel more energy.
Yep. Better sleep.
Better sleep.
Better sex drive.
Probably
better hormonal results.
Correct.
Thyroid.
You will perform better in the gym, right? You will, your mood and cognition will be clearer.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful thing. I get to maintain my physique and feel all these wonderful feelings that I probably haven't felt in a long time if I've not learned how to do this prior. And you get to build.
Yeah.
Right. It's very hard to build in a calorie deficit.
Right.
Unless it's something, what I mean by building is building a lean body mass. Now, here's the beauty about that. It becomes this kind of cyclical thing where I get to maintenance. I am focusing on, hitting adequate protein and maintenance. I have more performance in the gym. So now if you have a good coach, I'm going to, challenge you a bit more in your lifts. You're getting stronger in your lifts. Now we're putting on more lean body mass. And this is your client that you started with. She's putting on more lean mass. A pound of muscle and a pound of fat are a pound, but muscle is very dense. So muscle fits into a smaller, I always use the AirPods versus my iPhone, the case of the AirPods versus my iPhone. Like this is a pound of fat. This is a pound of muscle.
What the pound of, so for the people who aren't watching.
Oh, the pound of fat is my iPhone. Yeah. The pound of muscle is my AirPods case. Yeah. So I'm still relatively the same weight. I may even at that point, maybe even gain a little bit, right? But my measurements are going down, right? Because now I have more of this lean mass in my body. And the thing about lean mass is the more that we have, the more calories we need to maintain it. So now what was a 2,000 calorie TDEE could be 2,100.
Right.
Could be 2,200.
Meaning you can eat more without gaining weight.
Correct. Yeah. And still also, just because you're at maintenance does not mean you're not going to see body recomp.
Correct. And I prefer clients to be in maintenance because what they're looking for can be found in maintenance.
Absolutely.
And it's body wise, right? And again, we try not to focus on like body composition and like solely that being the outcome. But a part of doing the program and working with us is, we want to get you those results. And I think I don't know if we talked about on another podcast or in general of like, of course we want to get you the results that you're seeking physically, because at some point that is like our job. Right. And also like, that's what you came here for. And that's what people notice about you. And that's what makes you feel good.
And that's ultimately how people are going to be referred to us. Right. You're going to walk around looking amazing.
And then, but also you're going to be able to tell that you feel amazing.
Right.
So you can look amazing, but if you look like death and like haggard and whatnot and like frenzied and your hair's falling out or thinning or all that shit, people are going to be like, oh, getting lean.
That was me.
Yeah. But if you're like, are coming in and you've got this new swagger about you, this new confidence, you feel good, and you're not like figuring out how you're going to go to the gym on vacation with your friends, they're going to be like, what are you doing?
Right.
So we want that for our own selfish reason for you. But you have to remember that when you start to feel these positive things internally, like Christina was saying, and we listed off, that external thing's going to happen. But now you can start living in maintenance and realize like, oh, I don't have to like do all these trickeries.
Right.
And I've had clients where they're in maintenance and they feel very uncomfortable. And so when we start looking into why do you feel uncomfortable, it's because they've been trying to pulling strings for the last X amount of years to get what's happened. And they feel like I don't either deserve this or it shouldn't be this easy.
Right.
And I'm like, both can be true. You do deserve it and it can be this easy and you can enjoy the cake and ice cream and sushi all in the same night without having to restrict the next day.
Right.
But it's uncomfortable and you need to learn that it's okay.
Right.
And then it'll gradually get more comfortable.
Oh, and then it becomes awesome when the client...
Then you go, I don't want to go into a cut.
Exactly. Like, I think we talked about a few of our clients who they may go on like mini cuts here and there where they're like, get me out of here. I don't want to be in this anymore. I want my 2100. I want my 2200. I want my 2400 back.
Yes.
And the more that we do that, the more that they love maintenance.
Yep.
Because even a 1900 calorie cut is like hell for them, and people out there are like, wait, what? That's a reality. It is a reality. It is 1000% a reality. Both of us have been there. We've seen hundreds of people do that. And there's so many benefits to a reverse diet. And honestly, I think about this reverse diet to maintenance as if you look at like a football player's season, you have off season, preseason, in season, and post season. So for us, in season would be a deliberate fat loss phase, calorie deficit. We're really focusing on our weight. We're focusing on, trying to lose body fat. Then your post season is reversing out of it, right? And then your off season is your maintenance. I'm just chilling. I'm building up other skills during this time. I'm building muscle. I'm, hitting PRs in the gym. My cardiovascular health is improving. And then going into your preseason would be kind of going back down into the deficit. If we think about that over the year, you're really going to be in that off season majority of the time.
Right.
You want to be at maintenance for the majority of your year and only have your deficits be something that is towards a trip
structure.
Right. And
I would say even
in that.
Like if you take trips every year, it doesn't mean every year you have to do a deficit either. You could be happy in your body composition indefinitely for the next 3 years and not have to have cut or done a weight loss phase too.
Absolutely.
So that's something to remind, but you won't know how much you can eat without doing this reverse part of it.
Right.
And then seeing it consistently and then looking like, okay, what does it really look like to add 50 to 100 calories, assess, okay, increase again, assess, I'm good here. But then even if I switch a program, like working out wise, depending on the volume and the training and my strength and my muscle building, your calories may go up in 2-3 years from now. And you need to be able to respect that and have the practice of going through the reverse and being able to replicate it too.
Absolutely. And everything we're saying is so many people just live in the deficit.
Yeah.
Let's always go back to what we tell you guys is like, this is something you've never tried before.
Right.
You keep trying the same thing over and over again and staying in this deficit and trying to like live a life in a calorie deficit, which is
impossible.
Yeah. It's impossible. It's not fun. We know it's not fun. Stop lying to yourself.
Right.
I know it's scary, but like Amanda said, like if you work with us, the last thing I want you to do is be in a body that you are not confident in.
Right.
And now obviously confidence comes from your mindset. However, what I'm saying is we're not going to make you gain all this weight back.
Right.
Like, why would we do that? Your body is our referral, is our billboard, right?
It's our open door.
Yes.
Right.
So a
trap
lot of
door.
Yeah. It's a back door, whatever it is.
Back door,
whatever. It's a door. But we're not going to do that to you. And we're going to teach you how to do this. I love when clients leave us and they're like, this is my plan for the year.
Yes, I make them do that. I go, I need the next 8 months at minimum.
Yep. And they do
write it out for me and then we'll talk about it.
Exactly. And we do that. And now they feel confident in, I don't have to live in a deficit. I can be at maintenance. I can still see changes in my body. And honestly, I can just chill the fuck out.
Right.
I can just chill. I, have much more freedom.
Well, let me put it this way, because you're talking about chill and freedom. For the client that's listening, how much time are you trying to manipulate your week or your day so that you stay in that deficit? If it's a significant amount of energy and you feel overwhelmed by it, then it's probably time to get out of it too.
Yes. Or if I should say, if you are just not seeing results, you're either lying to yourself and trying to track food, but you're in this deficit that you have bites, licks, and tastes. You're not tracking accurately. You're forgetting that thing because it's hard to sustain. Or your body's just like, no, girl, I need a fucking break.
Yeah. Well, I have
a ghost in the studio.
If you can't remember the last time you ate at like a maintenance or just took a diet break, then you need to as well.
Absolutely. So that's the reverse diet again. I don't think a lot of programs talk about it. Again, for women, it's going to be incredibly helpful. What people don't realize is a lot of research on weight loss is in young white male bodies where they don't, cool. They don't reproduce.
No,
our bodies,
hormonal cycles.
Correct. Our hormonal cycles are affected because we have hormonal cycles. Things like calorie deficits, intermittent fasting, like not having enough carbohydrates actually causes more damage. I won't say the word damage, but it causes more harm on our body than good. Thank you. More than good. Yeah. And we have to realize that at the end of the day, our body's going to tell us what it wants to do.
Right.
And we need to figure out at a minimum how many calories at minimum that we can, not at a minimum, how many calories that we can have that we're going to feel good.
Yeah.
Right. And not look at, this study most of these studies are on men, and being in a calorie deficit does have, like you said, a lot of negative implications on the female body.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's it.
All
right. Well, if you're like, I want to do that. I would like to eat more and like look and feel amazing. You can find our Clarity Call link in the show notes. That will set up a discovery call with myself or Amanda and see if our program is for you. I will tell you, if you are someone looking for quick fixes, you're looking for us to make this 7-day training program, you're looking to come in and just cut right away, not the program for you. Absolutely not. But if you're looking for sustainable weight loss, if you choose, if you're looking for a plan that you can utilize for the rest of your life, if you're looking for a program where you actually eat more and move less and still see results, then yes, that would be the link that you would want to find. If you want to find us on Instagram, the Mindset Matter of Coaching on Instagram is our coaching page. Amanda's specific personal page is
fitbyamanda.az.
You can find the recordings of this on YouTube at The Mindset of Matter, as well as we have a TikTok. I haven't been on top of TikTok. Not gonna lie,
I don't even have a TikTok, so I'm not gonna lie.
It's a lot of work.
I have no idea what's happening.
It's a lot of work. But other than that, we hope that you find this helpful. And always remember one thing:
what you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror. Peace.
There. Yeah.